This is the story of something that happened one summer night. Something I'll never forget no matter how hard I try. I'm going to tell you everything, and I swear every word of it is true. So sit back, listen closely, and whatever you do, never walk alone on the boardwalk at night. It happened about 5 years ago. I was visiting my cousin Liam at this quiet beach town along the East Coast. It was one of those sleepy places where everyone knows everyone, and nothing ever really happens. The town's main attraction was the old wooden boardwalk, stretching half a mile along the ocean, lined with food stalls, gift shops, and this ancient arcade that still smelled like salt and popcorn. It was the kind of place that felt frozen in time. Families came during the day, kids ran around with ice cream, and old couples held hands watching the waves. But at night, something about it changed. You'd feel it the moment the sun dipped below the ocean. The lights would flicker on, casting long shadows. Most of the stalls shut down. The ocean would get louder, and the wind colder, even in July. One night, Liam dared me to walk the boardwalk alone after midnight. "You're always the brave one," he said, smirking. "Let's see if you can make it to the end and back, alone." I rolled my eyes. I wasn't scared. It was just wood, wind, and ocean, right? "Fine," I said. "You better be waiting right here when I get back." He nodded, sat on the bench, near the start of the boardwalk, and pulled out his phone. "Good luck," he said. "You'll need it." So I started walking. The lights above me buzzed softly. Some blinked, flickering like they couldn't decide whether to stay on or off. The waves crashed in the dark, but I couldn't see them, just hear them, like whispers from below. I kept walking, hands in my hoodie pockets, trying to look tough, even though something deep down felt off. About halfway through, I passed the old arcade. It was shut tight. The sign above it still blinked "Fun Zone" in faded red letters, but all the games were dark inside. Still, as I walked past it, I thought I heard something clink, clink, clink. It sounded like coins dropping into a machine. I stopped. I listened. Nothing. Then, clink, clink. I took a step back toward the glass doors, pressed my face to the window. Nothing moved. It was pitch black inside, except for a faint glow from the back of the arcade. I could barely make out the shape of one game cabinet standing tall in the darkness. Then I swear to you, it lit up. Just one machine. No power in the building, everything else dark, but that one machine blinked to life. The screen flashed colors. I could see the joystick twitch. It was like it was calling me. I felt goosebumps crawl up my arms. I turned away, fast, telling myself it was probably on some backup power system or maybe a glitch. Nothing supernatural, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something inside the arcade was watching me. I kept walking, quicker now. My sneakers thumped against the old wooden planks. The wind had picked up. I thought I heard footsteps behind me. I turned. No one. The entire boardwalk was empty. Not a soul. But then, I noticed something strange. There were footprints, wet ones, like someone had come from the ocean. Bare feet, long toes, walking right behind mine. But I hadn't heard a splash. No wet slapping steps. Just quiet, perfect prints following my own. I looked ahead, heart racing, and that's when I saw her, at the very end of the boardwalk. She was standing still, facing the ocean. Long black hair, soaked and hanging like seaweed. A white dress, wet and clinging to her body like she had just crawled out of the water. I stopped walking. She didn't move. I don't know why, but I whispered, "Hey, are you okay?" She turned, and I swear, my heart stopped. Her face was pale, bloated. Her eyes were completely black. Not like darkness, like two holes that went on forever. Her mouth opened just slightly, and something slid out. A long, thin gray tongue. It didn't move like a person's. It tasted the air. I stepped back. She started walking toward me. Not running. Just slow, steady steps. Drip. Step. Drip. Step. I turned and ran. I didn't care about being brave. I didn't care about Liam. I just ran like hell. The lights above me began to flicker wildly, and I could hear her behind me, not walking anymore. Slithering. The wet dragging sound chased me all the way back. When I reached the bench where Liam was supposed to be, he was gone. "Liam!" I shouted. "Liam!" No answer. Then I heard something, a clawing, wet sound coming from under the boardwalk. I dropped to my knees and looked between the planks. Two black eyes stared back at me, and a voice, whispering in a way I'll never forget, said, "You looked at her. Now she knows your name." I screamed. Ran all the way back to our rental house. Liam came back an hour later. Said he had just gone to the bathroom and didn't hear me calling. He swore he never saw any girl. Didn't hear or see anything strange. But I couldn't sleep that night. Or the next. And every time I looked at water, sinks, puddles, the ocean, I'd see her face for a split second, staring up at me, waiting. 2 weeks later, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was an old arcade token. It was wet, and on the back, scratched into the metal, was my name. She still knows it. And I think, one day, she's going to crawl out of whatever dark place she came from to collect me. So if you ever go to that boardwalk and someone dares you to walk it alone, don't. Because she's still there, waiting for the next name. This is the story of something truly disturbing that happened to me one summer when I was 17. It happened at the boardwalk near my uncle's beach house. And believe me when I say this, it's not one of those silly ghost stories people make up for fun. No. This really happened. And I still get chills just thinking about it. That summer, my parents had sent me to spend a couple weeks with my Uncle Carl. He lived in this small beach town in New Jersey, the kind of place where people retire, and the biggest attraction was the old boardwalk by the water. It stretched out for what felt like forever, built from sun-bleached wood and lined with rusty handrails. It had old carnival games, a taffy shop, a fortune-teller's booth, and an ice cream stand that never seemed to close. People said the boardwalk was haunted. You know how every old town has stories like that. Ghost sailors, missing kids, strange lights at night. I didn't take any of it seriously. I mean, come on, ghosts? Really? But that changed after what I saw with my own eyes. It started on a Tuesday night. Uncle Carl had fallen asleep in his chair after dinner and I couldn't sleep. I grabbed my hoodie, headphones, and decided to take a walk. The beach looked beautiful at night, and the boardwalk was just a 10-minute walk away. It was almost 11 p.m. when I got there. The place was empty, which was weird. Normally, there were at least a few people strolling or fishing off the edge. But that night, it was just me. As I walked down the wooden planks, the sound of the ocean filled my ears. Waves crashing, wind blowing, the creaking of the boards under my feet. I stopped by the old photo booth, one of those coin-operated ones that still used film. It was dusty and half broken, but oddly, it was turned on. The screen blinked softly. That's when I noticed something strange. Inside the booth, the curtain was drawn shut. I was sure no one else was there, but someone had to be inside. "Hello?" I called out, stepping closer. No response. I should have just walked away. But curiosity got the better of me. I slowly reached out and pulled the curtain back. No one was there, but the seat was warm, and there was a strip of freshly printed photos on the floor. 4 small black and white images. The first one showed a girl, maybe around my age. Wet hair clinging to her face, wide, terrified eyes. The second photo showed the same girl, looking over her shoulder at something. It was blurry, but it looked like a tall figure behind her. Too tall. Inhumanly tall. The third photo, she was screaming, hands pressed to the glass like she wanted to escape. And the fourth photo? The booth was empty. I backed away, heart pounding. I looked around. Still no one there. I left the photos on the ground and hurried off. I didn't want to be there anymore, but I didn't go home. I don't know why. I kept walking deeper down the boardwalk, drawn toward the fortune teller's booth. Madame Zoya, the peeling sign read. It was dark inside, but as I got close, a light flickered on. I jumped. The curtain twitched. Then a voice, soft and raspy, called from inside. "Come in, child." "No thanks," I said, already backing away. But the voice came again. "You saw her, didn't you?" I froze. "What?" The curtain parted, just enough to reveal the face of an old woman with cloudy eyes. She stared straight at me, though I could tell she couldn't see. "You saw the girl. She showed herself to you." "What girl?" I asked, my throat dry. "Her name is Eloise. She died here, right on this boardwalk, years ago. I didn't want to listen, but I couldn't walk away. She used to work in that photo booth. Summer job. One night she disappeared. They say a man dragged her under the boardwalk, but the body was never found. The wind suddenly got stronger. The lights above us flickered. She's still here," Madame Zoya whispered. "She appears to those who walk alone. She wants to be seen. She wants help." Before I could say anything, the light inside her booth snapped off. I stood there, alone in the dark. I was done. I started walking fast, heading back toward the entrance, but the boardwalk didn't feel the same. It felt longer. No matter how fast I walked, I couldn't see the entrance, and then I heard it. Click, click, click. It was the sound of the photo booth. Taking pictures, even though I was nowhere near it anymore. I turned around. In the distance, I could see the photo booth blinking wildly. And just then, a shadow stepped out from behind it. The girl, Eloise. She walked toward me slowly, her face pale and soaked. Her mouth hung open, like she was trying to scream but had no voice. Her eyes met mine, and for a moment I felt sorry for her. But then the wind stopped. Everything went dead silent. She raised her hand and pointed, not at me but behind me. I turned around, and standing right behind me was him. I never got a good look at his face. It was like a black blur, a hole in the shape of a man. He didn't walk, he glided. His arms were too long, and he reached toward me with fingers that looked like driftwood. I ran, faster than I've ever run. This time, the boardwalk didn't stretch. I made it to the end in seconds, sprinted down the stairs, and didn't stop until I was back at my uncle's house. He didn't believe me, of course, no one ever does, but I know what I saw. For the rest of that summer, I didn't go near the boardwalk again. But here's the part that still haunts me. A few days before I left, I got a text from an unknown number. No name, just an image. A strip of 4 black and white photos. The first showed me standing by the photo booth. The second showed me pulling back the curtain. The third, I was screaming. And in the fourth, the booth was empty, just like hers. So if you ever find yourself walking a lonely boardwalk at night and you see an old photo booth blinking in the dark, don't go near it, because she's still there, and now she's not alone. This is the story of something that happened to my friend Mike 3 years ago. I'm telling you this exactly how he told me, and I swear, he's not the type to lie or make things up. He's one of the calmest, most grounded people I know. But after what happened that night at the boardwalk, he changed. He doesn't talk about it anymore, not even when we ask. He just says, "You weren't there, you didn't see her." So here's how it went, word for word, as best as I remember. It was the middle of August. Mike had just come back from his first year of college and was working part-time at this beachfront cafe in a small town called Cedar Bay. He'd usually close up the shop late at night and then take a walk along the boardwalk before heading home. Said it helped him relax, clear his mind. The boardwalk there wasn't fancy, just old wooden planks, some crooked rails, and a row of aging food stands and souvenir shops that stayed open late during the summer. Tourists came during the day, but at night, it got quiet fast. One night, a little after midnight, Mike finished locking up the cafe. It was a warm night, a little foggy, but peaceful. He had his headphones in and started his usual stroll along the boardwalk. Everything looked normal. A few lights were still on. He passed a cotton candy stand, the closed arcade, and that weird little booth that used to sell snow globes year-round. And then, he noticed something new. It was an old carousel, just sitting there, on the sand next to the boardwalk. Now, here's the thing. Mike had walked that stretch every night for weeks. There was never a carousel there before. He was sure of it. It looked old, really old. The kind with chipped horses and gold trim, but the lights were on. The mirrors on the top shimmered in the fog, and soft music was playing. That music, he said, didn't sound right. It was the kind of melody that was supposed to be cheerful, but something about it felt off. Slowed down, almost broken. Still, Mike was curious. He stepped off the boardwalk and walked toward it. The carousel wasn't fenced off or anything, it was just there, turning slowly. No operator, no kids, no other people around. He walked up to one of the horses. It was painted white, but most of the paint was peeling off. Its eyes were black and glossy like little marbles. Mike reached out to touch the pole when suddenly, click, the music stopped. Total silence. Then the lights on the carousel started blinking, one by one, until it was dark. Mike stood there, frozen. That's when he heard a voice. "Do you want to ride?" It came from the other side of the carousel. Mike turned slowly and saw a girl sitting on one of the horses. She looked about 18 or 19. Pale skin, long black hair, and wearing a dress that looked like it was from another time, maybe the 1950s. She was barefoot. Mike didn't say anything at first. He told me he felt something was wrong with her, but not in a way he could explain. Like his gut knew something his mind didn't. "Just one ride," she said again. He shook his head. "I was just looking," he told her. But she smiled. Not a warm smile. It was too wide, too sharp. "Everyone gets one ride," she said, "even if they don't want it." Then the carousel lights turned on again, all at once. The music started up louder this time, but now it wasn't the same melody. It was out of tune, wrong. The horses began to move faster. Mike stepped back. That's when he saw the mirrors at the top of the carousel. They weren't reflecting him. They were showing something else, a version of the boardwalk, but it was burned, broken, and empty. No ocean, no stars, just darkness and fire in the sky. And in those mirrors, he saw more. People on the ride, dozens of them, kids, adults, all frozen in place, their mouths open like they were screaming. But no sound came out. He turned to run, but when he looked back, the girl was gone. And the carousel? Gone too. Just an empty patch of sand. Mike didn't stop running until he reached the parking lot behind the cafe. He jumped in his car and drove straight home. He tried to tell his boss the next day. The man just laughed and said, "That old rumor again? Every few years someone sees the carousel. It's not real, kid. It's a ghost story. Locals made it up to scare tourists." But Mike knew what he saw. Later that week, he went to the local library to look up anything he could about the boardwalk or missing people. He found something, an old article from the 1960s. A fire had broken out on the beach. They thought it was started by a malfunction in a carousel ride during the end of summer fair. 10 people had died. 4 were never identified. The rest were kids and teens. One of the victims? A girl named Lucy Bell, 18 years old. She was working the ride that night. She'd been seen moments before the fire, wearing a white dress, long black hair, just like the girl Mike saw. He tried to go back one time, during the day, to where he saw the carousel. Nothing was there. No marks in the sand. No proof anything ever existed. But here's the thing. He still gets texts sometimes, late at night, from an unknown number. Just one sentence. "Your ride is waiting." He never replies. He just blocks the number. But a few days later, a new one sends the same message. Always the same words. And last month, he got a letter in the mail. No return address. No stamp. Just a folded paper with one line written in red ink. "Everyone gets one ride." He hasn't been back to the boardwalk since. Won't go near it. So, if you ever find yourself walking a quiet beach at night, and you hear carousel music playing softly in the fog, don't look for it, because if you see it, if you step toward it, she'll be waiting. This is the story of something that happened to a guy named Chris 2 summers ago. I'm telling you this just the way he told me. And trust me, when Chris tells a story, you listen. He's not the kind of person who gets scared easily. He's a mechanic, rough around the edges but solid. Never believed in ghosts, spirits, or any of that nonsense. But after what happened to him at the boardwalk, he's different now. He still walks with a limp, and his eyes, man, they just don't look the same anymore. It happened in a small coastal town called Brighton Shore. The kind of place people visit during summer for ice cream, cheap souvenirs, and long walks on the boardwalk. Chris was there helping his cousin, James, renovate an old diner that was reopening near the water. He was staying for a few weeks, fixing up the kitchen, repainting walls, doing some plumbing. The usual handyman stuff. Most nights after work, Chris would go for a walk to clear his head. The boardwalk wasn't too crowded late at night. Just a few couples. Sometimes a group of teens goofing around. He liked that peaceful feeling. The sound of the waves, the lights from the food stalls, the smell of salt and fried dough in the air. One night, around 11:30, he decided to take a longer walk than usual. It was warmer than most nights. The breeze was soft, and the sky was clear. He walked past the souvenir stands, the empty photo booth, and the hot dog cart that was already closed up. That's when he noticed something strange. There was an alley between two of the old shops. He'd never noticed it before. It was narrow and dark, and at the end of it, he saw a light. A soft flickering glow like candlelight. Now, Chris isn't the kind of guy who runs from weird stuff. He gets curious. So he went in. The wooden boards creaked under his boots. The alley smelled musty, like old wood and something else. Something sweet and rotten. The kind of smell you can't quite name, but makes your stomach twist a little. At the end of the alley, he found a door. It was painted black with a silver handle. No signs, no posters, no lights above it. He hesitated, then opened it. Inside was a hallway lit by hanging bulbs, each swinging slightly, like something had just walked past them. The hallway led down to an open space, and that's where he saw it, a carnival. Indoors, a full-blown old-style carnival inside what looked like an abandoned warehouse. There were booths, games, faded banners, and right in the middle, a carousel. It was the only thing that looked brand new. Bright red and gold. The horses shined, the lights twinkled, and the music. It was soft at first, playing that familiar carousel tune, but with something wrong underneath it. Like a second sound you could barely hear, like whispering. Chris looked around. No people, no signs of anyone. Just the carousel spinning slowly. He should have turned back right there, but something about it pulled him in. He walked closer. As he got near, the music grew louder. The horses were carved with such detail, it was almost lifelike. One of them had red painted eyes, wide open and wild. Another had what looked like cracks in its neck, like it had once been broken and put back together. Chris reached out and touched one of the poles. It was warm. Suddenly he heard a voice. "You're late." He turned. Standing just a few feet away was a man. Tall, thin, wearing an old-fashioned carnival uniform. Red coat, gold buttons, white gloves. His face was pale, his eyes too wide, and he smiled like someone who had forgotten how to do it right. "Excuse me?" Chris said, backing up. "Your ride," the man said. "It's your turn." "I think you've got the wrong guy," Chris replied. But the man stepped aside and pointed toward the carousel. The lights flickered. The horses stopped. One of them, a black one with gold trim, was empty. Chris should have walked away. He should have run. But instead, he climbed on. The second, he sat down. The pole in front of him locked his hands in place. Cold metal clamps snapped around his wrists. The horse jerked forward, and the carousel started spinning faster. Faster than it should have. The lights turned red. The music changed. Now it sounded like a funeral march, with whispers layered under it. Dozens of voices saying things like, "You're next," and "It's been waiting for you," and "Let go, let go, let go." Chris tried to scream, but no sound came out. The room around him began to change. The walls melted into shadows. The booths disappeared. He saw people now. People standing around the carousel. Their eyes were black holes. Their mouths hung open. as if screaming forever. Some of them were missing limbs, some had burned skin, some were just shadows. He saw a little girl. No face, just blank skin where eyes and a mouth should be. She pointed at him, and the horse screamed. Yes, screamed, like a living thing in pain. Chris passed out. When he woke up, he was lying on the boardwalk, near the edge, close to the water. It was morning. His hands were bleeding from rope burns. His clothes were torn, his boots missing. People were walking past, giving him weird looks. A cop came over and asked if he was drunk or high. He just kept saying, "The carnival, the carousel," over and over. They took him to the hospital. He had bruises on his ribs, scratches on his back, and his right ankle was sprained. The doctor said it looked like he'd been running barefoot on broken glass. He stayed in Brighton Shore for 3 more days, then left without saying goodbye. He never went back. And here's the weirdest part. James, the cousin he was helping, went looking for that alley later. It wasn't there. No gap between the shops. No door. No warehouse. Just a solid brick wall, like nothing had ever been there at all. Chris still has nightmares. He says he hears the music in his sleep. That same carousel song, with the whispers underneath. And once a year, on the same night, it happened, he gets a postcard in the mail. No stamp, no address, just a picture of a carousel horse. And on the back, the same message every time. It's still your turn, so if you ever find yourself walking alone on a boardwalk, and you see a dark alley that wasn't there before, don't go in, because once you see the carousel, it remembers you.